welcome back to my channel. I am Kira and today we are going to be discussing about studying and living in Hungary. I want to give a general but somewhat detailed overview of the admission process, the living costs, scholarships, can you work here or not as a student, so all that. And without further ado, let's dive right into it. Oh, I have my points written down on a piece of paper here, so you'll see me referring to it quite a lot. First things first, admission. You can apply to a Hungarian university via two ways. The first way is the direct applications, as in you apply to the university you would want to enroll into directly. And the second way will be via the university partners or agents in different countries. Personally, I would recommend the second option because the admission process can be quite overwhelming, and the agents or the partners help you to guide you through the whole process basically. So I would recommend that, but either way you can get admission to a Hungarian university. And when you get your admission, you'll then go into when your application is reviewed, you'll go ahead to an entrance exam and then the visa application. And the most important thing here is to keep tabs on the admission deadlines, as in the deadlines for applying or which intake you would like to apply to, because we have two intakes, the one in September and the one in February. So you have to keep tabs on the deadlines because that is very, very important. So moving on, scholarships. Are there scholarships to study in Hungary? Yes, there are scholarships. That is great news. And there is the Stipendium Hungarian scholarship. There is the Young Christian scholarships, and they're very generous scholarships. And this for the Stipendium Hungarian scholarship specifically, it is very, very generous because you get tuition fee paid for. You get a monthly stipend, which is about 40,000 Hungarian forints. I'll put the conversion in US dollars right here in case you're not familiar with the Hungarian currency. And you get accommodation free. If you are going to stay in dorm, the accommodation will be free, but if you're going to stay in an apartment or flat, then they'll contribute to that apartment, but not the full amount of the apartment. Okay, so moving on, we have, you'll also have your insurance, your medical insurance covered for. So it is a very, very generous scholarship, and I would encourage each and every one of you to apply to it if your country is eligible, of course. Moving on to accommodation. So accommodation here, you can either live in a dormitory or you can rent a flat or an apartment. And there are pros and cons to each, and that depends entirely on what the individual wants and of course what your pockets can hold or contribute, I guess. For the dormitory, it's quite cheap, I guess, like on the cheaper side compared to a flat, because the dormitories range between 40,000 Hungarian forints and 52,000. Again, the conversions are right here. And the good thing is you don't have to pay the utilities separately. So all that money includes the accommodation and the utilities. So that is a very, very good thing. And for the flats will start, I guess, from 1,000 Hungarian forints, conversion right here, 1,000 Hungarian forints to higher prices depending on what you want. Of course, the more modern or more luxurious the flat is, the higher the price. So, but again, the rent for the flat won't include the utilities, which will include electricity, gas, heating, water, common costs. So you have to keep that in mind when you are looking for accommodation. You can always get a flatmate to share the bills with, or if you can afford to live in your flat alone, then you can of course rent a solo flat. And of course there are different ways of finding accommodation. We have Facebook groups, and the school has a website called Student Housing, which you can use to get houses. Yeah, so moving on, we have living costs. Of course, that is a very, very, very big thing to look at if you want to come to study in a foreign country, because that is going to play a very, very big role on your decision whether the living cost is very high or affordable. So of course you're going to be spending your money on the main things are going to be food, transport, yeah, basically that is going to be the main or how do I say, the main part that is going to take your money. So the living costs are, I mean, it will be very varying depending on the kind of individual you are and your spending habits. So I can't give a specific amount, but I would say somewhere between let's say 50 or 40,000 Hungarian forints, 50 Hungarian forints should be somewhat sufficient to run through the month. Of course, if you're not extravagant in your expenditure. So the living costs really differ from individual to individual. And also whether you want to go out so often, whether you're going to cook your homemade meals or you're going to eat out. Of course, home cooked meals are going to be quite less expensive than eating out every single day. So yeah, and for the bus, for the transport, we have very good transport systems here in Hungary, at least in my city, Pécs. And you can get a monthly bus pass, and there's a student discount, so that is a very very good thing as well. What else is on my list? Of accommodation. One mistake I made when I was trying to look for accommodation was I was trying to look for a flat or accommodation very close to my university. And of course, the closer the accommodation is to the university, the higher the price is going to be. But when reaching here, I was like, oh, you can get an accommodation like literally minutes, like half an hour away from the uni, and you can get back to uni in time because the buses are very, very amazing in terms of the time and the frequency to which they go to the university. So don't fixate your mind on finding accommodation 4 minutes walking distance from to the uni. Like you can get literally 30 minutes away from the uni and you'll be just fine. The next thing is going to be oh, you have to keep in mind the weather. That is the next point. The weather. We experience all the seasons from summer to winter to autumn to spring, and depending on which month you're going to arrive in, you have to check what the weather will be and come well prepared. If it's gonna be winter, come with some winter clothes, cause it gets really really cold here, like 0 degrees cold. So yeah, and the summers get really hot. So depending on when you're going to arrive, keep that in mind and come with appropriate clothes for that. The language, of course, if you're applying to Hungary, you already know that Hungarians speak mostly Hungarian, Magyarul, and some percentage speaks German as well, and very little people, very few, not little, very few people speak English. I would say that especially the youth would speak English, but the elderly people mainly speak Hungarian. So Google Translate is going to be your very, very good best friend here. Of course, student life. That is very important when you're applying to a university because that is going to play a very, very important factor in terms of your mental health and how you're going to cope with the surroundings, with a new surrounding. Pécs is a very small city, I won't lie. It is a very small city and it has a laid back vibe, yeah. And there are stuff to do. I mean, there are clubs, there are mountains, there's forests, there are rivers. So if you like nature and you like a peaceful, laid back kind of vibe, then Pécs is the way to go. But it's not like a vibrant city where everything is, so fast moving. No, that's not the kind of city. And of course, you can always travel to other cities as well and to other countries in Europe because your residence permit acts as your Schengen visa. So you can always travel and get a refresh your mind, I guess. The next point is going to be, can I work in Hungary? Of course, you can work in Hungary as a student. The different, what do they call them? The different student work organizations through which you can apply jobs to work as a student in Hungary. But keep in mind that there is going to be a limited amount of hours you can work per week because you don't have a work visa. You literally have a student visa, and your primary role here is to study, not to work. But you can work, I think the maximum amount of hours is 30 or 32. I'm not sure, but one of the two. And one last thing before I close up this video is going straight to my people who use or only consume halal food or halal meat. So that is a very common question from the Muslim community or people who only consume halal food. Is there halal food in Pécs? Yes, there is halal food in Pécs, but it's going to be like the raw meat, the meat you're gonna buy is going to be a bit more expensive than the normal meat you would buy from a normal store, but it's affordable, but not the most cheap thing, I guess. There are restaurants, there are halal restaurants, so you can always eat out at a halal restaurant if that is what you want. And yeah, that is it, I guess, I have for the video. If you guys have any questions or any things you want me to elaborate more on in a separate video, you can always leave your comments down below and let me know. And if you need anything or any question again, you can always DM me on Instagram. And that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching up to the end. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and see you in the next video. Bye.